Welcome, everyone.
And just like that, welcome.
Welcome, everybody, to CLCI Live. No one else is doing the intro. I guess I have to do it. Welcome to
You finished
CLCI
up,
Live,
man.
where we talk about weekly topics related to life coaching. This week, we're talking about the general market versus the niche market. I got my fingers mixed up. And we are joined by a special guest, Mike. And for those of you who don't know who Mike is, he is one of our new facilitators.
We're still not live, right?
Nope, we are. We definitely are.
We are definitely live, and I'm definitely Mike.
Spotlight, Mike.
Thank you.
Okay, we're live.
Thank you, Anthony. I'm Mike James. So, as Anthony was saying, I am one of the new facilitators here with CLCI. I don't feel new because I've been connected ever since some years back. So, I'm excited to be here, and great topic that I had the chance to jump in on. What is a coaching niche? So, I guess I'll start with what is that? What does it mean? So, kind of broad scope is pretty much your aim or your target of how you serve in your coaching practice. So it's your specific area of focus with your coaching practice to make it vague before we go deeper into it.
And is it pronounced niche or niche?
That's a good question. I think it depends
Very good
on
question.
who and where you are. I've
That's
heard it
not a
both
good
ways.
question. It's always pronounced niche. Anybody who says it otherwise is wrong.
There we have it. Boom.
I believe in versatility, so I'll say it both ways, depending on the time of the day, who I'm speaking to. So
And if I'm jesting around, I have said Nietzsche.
We're doing,
Yes.
instead of working earlier today,
Coaching
we
is dead.
Oh, that's a good one.
Done.
Coaching
Okay.
is dead.
Okay, so what is a niche, however you want to pronunciate it? What direction is your target towards? I like to use that word avatar. That avatar. Who are you focusing in on? What's your passion? Who is it that you want to work with so that you're working within something that is fun? Anthony's hand is raised.
Can I pretend to be some of our students sometimes? I'm a life coach who coaches people to be their best.
No,
Is that a good-
Anthony, who is your target market? Come on.
People are my target market. Age 18 to 50. They want to do better in their lives and they want to succeed and be
I'm
their best self.
screaming on the inside. I'm screaming on the inside.
Is that a good move? Am I doing it right?
No, you're not doing it. Hi, Todd Bradley. Hello, good to see you. And on that note, too, I'm just going to interrupt Anthony because he's being insincere.
I'm trying to give an example of what a lot of people do when they start out.
Yes, it is. But I'm going to interrupt and just remind everybody that we are monitoring your comments while we're doing our live. So please feel free to interact, leave your comments, talk to us while we're doing this. If you have any questions, interaction, we welcome it. We encourage it. We want to hear from you. And now back to Anthony and his I was going to say something, incessant blather.
I'm going to sit up a little bit because I'm getting blocked by this.
I know you're
too low. Yeah, that's my niche. That's why I want to be a life coach, is to coach people, living people, not the dead. That's for Dan.
I mean, one of the reasons I'm laughing and giving Anthony a bit of a hard time in this space is because Jerome and Anthony and I were once a part of a marketing group called Cunning Marketing. That this was like, we beat into people's heads about niching, like you have to niche, and that would never fly in our world. I go as far as to say you have to narrow this down to a single human being, one person. You've got to name them. You've got to know their ins and their outs. You've got to know every single thing about them. And that is terrifying for people to narrow it down to one person. Why might that be?
Commitment's hard. You don't want to commit, and committing feels like you're pigeonholing yourself sometimes, because a lot of times people will be like, I don't want to get too specific because what if I'm excluding people and losing clients that way? That's not how it works. You get more clients the more specific you get.
I see Mike's head nodding in that
Yeah,
space. Mike, what
I
do you
was
got?
just I was just thinking of the same thing to add on to what Anthony was saying too. It's that idea where okay, I chose this because I want to help everybody. I want to save you all. Why do I have to choose? You can't make me choose. It's so uncomfortable, right? That idea that okay now and get to it, but now it's like I don't know if I want to just narrow that down to that one. When you said that, Brooke, I don't like the way that makes me feel inside. One person? I want to help all of y'all.
And that's it's funny because what I always say is like this is gonna make you feel really uncomfortable. Like this is gonna be out of not what you're used to, not what you think, and that's especially true for new businesses because they think, oh my God, well, again, I want to help everybody, and what if nobody answers me? If it's only one person, what if nobody answers me? And one of the things I always say in response to that is, if your client is 1 in a million, then there are 7,000, 300 and something of your client out there. And so that's a lot of people, and more than any coach can probably handle in their coaching weekly schedule. So you're in good shape. What are the benefits of it being one person? Guys,
I'll
everybody's
jump in.
terrified, right? Like terrified.
So, one of the benefits of being one person, and I love that idea, Brooke. In fact, I use that idea when you say it, is, even if it's 1 in a million, right? There's 7,000 plus of that person. And so and it was shared, it gives you that voice. It's like now, if that idea where it's like I'm yelling, I'm a life coach, and everybody's like, okay, guys, whatever, we hear you. But now when I say what I do and who it is I help, now that traffic is slowing down. Like, okay, I think I need to talk to him or at least see what he's talking about because maybe he can help me because he said something that, it resonated with me. So I think that's the important part of it. And thinking of that one person and not as a be afraid, it's only one person, but now you narrow it down. It makes you heard. It gives you that voice.
I see Jerome wanting to speak, and I'm
Yeah.
going to let him. I'm also going to put you on the spot, Jerome. I'm going to put you
Okay.
on the spot, but after you're done.
Well, I'm gonna put all of you on the spot first. I have a question. After
No.
being answered, is that for coach or client? Deciding on your niche, is that going to be something that's more beneficial to the coach, or is this for the client?
It's for everybody.
Okay.
Well, this is what a good example of this would be. So, Jerome,
Yep.
I'm going to ask you a couple questions. Okay. So, let's see. I'm trying to think of a good example here. So, if I'm going to talk to you, and I'm going to talk to you about you and your life. I know some things about you, Jerome. I don't know a lot about you, but I know a few things. So if I were to say, hey, Jerome, how you doing today? How's life?
Going good. Things are going great. A little
Things are going
chilly,
good.
but outside of that, things are great.
Things are going good. They're going great. It's a little chilly. Okay. Well, I think that from that amount of information, I probably know a lot about you. I mean, just from that one statement, I could probably guess what you like, what you don't like, the things you like to do, how your morning, what your pain points are. No, that would never work. But if I ask Jerome, hey, Jerome, what is something that really gets under your skin?
Something that really gets under my skin. That might be difficult sometimes for me to answer. Rude people. People who are rude.
People. You don't like rude people.
Yeah.
Okay. And what is something you'd like to change about yourself?
Something I like to change about myself. My ability to shift gears. That's something that I've been struggling with lately.
Okay, so something you've been struggling with lately is your ability to shift gears, is what I'm hearing you say. So if I were to market to Jerome in this space, right, and my options are, I just know the first thing about him, which is, hey, Jerome's having a good day. It's kind of chilly. Or Jerome could really stand to have somebody that could help him with figuring out how to shift gears. And we can get more specific about that. I can go, hey, Jerome, in what areas of your life do you need help shifting gears? And we can get more and more detailed. And so Jerome, are you going to hire me if I know about your day and how it was, or are you going to hire me if I can help you learn how to shift gears?
I'm thinking I'm going to be more inclined to hire you if you can help me shift gears.
And the more I know about that, right, the more I'm able to speak to you and your language, and speak to Jerome specifically, like very specifically. Like, Jerome, where do you go? What do you do during the day?
Outside of being in my proverbial office / room, sometimes I'll take a lunch break out just around the corner. Maybe usually my favorite spot. There's a sandwich shop right down the street that I like to sit down and kind of have some lunch at. But for the most part, during the week, right here where you're looking at me in.
So what is that? What does that information? Those anybody watching or you guys? What information does that give us with regard to how we might be able to reach Jerome?
How to shift gears to get out of the house more often.
Or where to market to him, right? He goes to a
Mhm.
sandwich shop. Maybe I could put my card in a sandwich shop, or maybe they have a board where they post bulletins and things like that. Maybe I can reach Jerome. And furthermore, maybe I can reach Jerome in a way that speaks to his problem of wanting to know how to better shift gears. All of this speaks to Jerome specifically. And
Jerome, what websites or social media do you use most often? Where do you spend your time online?
Most often would probably be Instagram for personal use, probably Instagram, and then secondarily YouTube. YouTube's another one.
boom. And if I don't know these things about Jerome, how am I going to get to him? How will I market to him, right? And that's why niching becomes so important, because it tells us where we can reach people, how to find people, and it takes this giant, scary world of finding clients, and it becomes about finding one person and tracking that one person down and speaking to that one person. And how much less stressful is that when you're talking to one person instead of a million? At least that's me and my take on it. How do you guys feel about that?
Makes it a lot less stressful, a lot less overwhelming, because if you're trying to market to everyone, that language gets all muddled because you don't know what specifically to say to everyone. Everyone speaks a little bit differently, just like Jerome. I was joking in our private chat, like in the near future, people are not going to know what shifting gears means. That specifically
Correct.
to Jerome right now, he recognizes what that means. So that kind of language is going to be specifically geared toward a client that potentially I will show up for.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah,
So
and one
yeah,
thing too, Brooke, in what you were saying too, like if you're trying to speak to everybody, right? Then that 7,000 that needs you, they can't find you because that's what comes up as well. Like, why is another reason it's important? Because if I'm looking for that person who can help me in this transition space, right? I need a transformation coach or a transition. If I look through your marketing and I see you speaking to everybody, first of all, I'm gonna be thinking like, are you credible? You're helping everybody. You can't help me. I
Yeah.
want you to help me. I need you to help me. And so, what does that do as well when you're looking? So, I think that's important too. We were talking about like the coach or the client. The client is looking for something specific. And
Mhm.
so, if I'm looking for a wellness coach, I'm not going on a site if it just says general or all of this because I want you to help me with my wellness. So that's another thought that came up for me.
Before you go anywhere, quick, when was the last time you searched for help on the internet?
The last time I searched for help
Or
on the
what I should say,
internet,
what was the last thing you searched for?
last night I
Okay.
searched and I went directly to YouTube, Google adjacent, and I searched for ceiling fan noises because one of our ceiling fans now it has a little. It's not the clicking; it's just a little louder. And I searched specifically for that, and I even typed in the type of noise it is, like a whirring type. No, I can't even explain it. And guess what? First video comes right up talking about it.
And it's so specific. right? So
Mhm.
specific, because that's how people find us. That's how people find you. They find your marketing. They need you to do a job. They need you to help them do a job. You are searching for help to fix the noise in your ceiling fan, whatever form that came in. However, I mean, specific to you, YouTube. That's a great place for you to go. But it's a very specific search and a very specific job to be done. Your client is hiring you for a very specific job to do, whatever that may be. And it's one of the things that we always say is we exist in this state of sort of stagnancy where we can just. How long has your ceiling fan been making noise, Mike?
Literally about maybe a week and a half, if
A week
that.
and a half.
Mhm.
Which could be, I mean, that's to hear the same sound, the clicking sound every day, day in and day out. A week and a half kind of starts to feel like a long time, I imagine, right?
Yeah.
But this can be applied to many ways, parts of life. We can exist for a week and a half with tick, 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 or what have you going on, which could drive us bananas. But we still tolerate it. We tolerate it until something happens, typically, that makes us go, okay, I have to. Did something happen for you to just go, I need to look this up? Mike, anything?
No, it was just the sound. Like I just noticed it all of a sudden, and like I say, it's more of like a louder wind noise. And so I was just, I want to know ahead of time before it gets bad, before there's a clicking or some scraping sound or whatever. And so that was it. It was just, let me get ahead of this and let me see what's going on here. And like you said, very specific. And I was like, guess what? I can actually see and hear and read someone talking about it if I go to YouTube. So I was very specific in what I was looking for. I knew what I was looking for, and that's what I did.
The great thing too, though, is to note in this is also, not only is it specific, not only do we have, I mean, it's a ceiling fan, it's the noise, but something Mike said is he wanted to prevent it from getting worse. And this is actually something that's important to think about when you're marketing is, who are you marketing to? Are you marketing to somebody who is preventing? Is it something where they're proactive or reactive? Because we as people can exist and we can be, something bad can happen and then we react. Or in his case, he wanted to prevent it from getting worse. And that can make a big difference in how you speak to your client, based on where they are and what space they're in. If they know they're going to be getting a job and they want to set themselves up for success, you're going to be different than the client that maybe has lost their job and is panicking. Two totally different ways to speak to somebody in that space. So that's very interesting that Mike brought that up. And I thought that was a really a great point, that he was like, no, I just wanted it to get to it before it got worse. Which is important. How can you guys think of any other situations where clients might come to you and in a proactive or reactive space? I know this is.
My immediate thought went to relationship coaching.
I was just going to say, yep.
I thought of Lisa too, but there's two different aspects in relationships where a crisis happens, something happens, maybe a partner cheats or something, and they're like, we got to get coaching. We have to sort this out, because if we don't, we're not going to work, or something bad will happen. The other side of that, the other end of the spectrum would be, okay, like, we're being proactive about our relationship. There might be some things we need to work on, but a crisis hasn't happened yet. And we're doing stuff to strengthen, I guess, a foundation. I think Lisa would probably have more experience in speaking into this. But that's where my mind first went, was relationship coaching.
Yeah, you're right on. I agree that both sides of that spectrum would come into the office, whether they're in that reactive spot and drove them to it and they better sink or swim kind of experience with the relationship. And then on the flip side, there's plenty that have come in. They're either planning on getting married and they want to make sure they're doing the proactive behaviors so that they don't fall into habits that are not going to sink them, reactive. They're going to be proactive, paying attention to things. They haven't already built, a neural pattern, and that they get to start fresh and have a different kind of experience versus trying to break some habits.
I noticed in our chat, somebody says, replying Certified Life Coach Institute, the direction that I'm looking at, I want to help people who feel chronically overwhelmed. So I'm thinking about offering it as burnout coaching. So I love the concept. I love that. But how can they narrow that down?
So my question would be then, burnout with what? You can be burnt out with a lot of different things, and you're overwhelmed with a lot of different things. With what? Burnout with relationships, burnout with business, with schooling, with fitness goals. Like, there's a lot of ways to take it. Burnout coach is a good start, but burnout where?
And well, there's a word there, people. People. Well, that's everybody.
Yeah.
What kind of people? Who is this person? And also with regard to what Anthony was saying, knowing who that person is, or knowing what they need help with that burnout is, what kind of burnout might help you narrow down what kind of person you're speaking to. What are other ways people who are maybe struggling in this space and they're trying to figure it out, right? They're lost. And maybe if you guys have examples where you've been in the same space where you were, Mike, maybe you were trying to narrow your focus down, or something along those lines. How do you, what advice do you give them in that space of helping them to narrow their niches down?
Sorry, go ahead,
Jerome. Nope, I tag you.
Okay. All right. So to kind of give a specific example, I get this sometimes over the phone, where a coach will come in and ask kind of the importance of niching. We're getting trained, all this training, all these tools, and you want me to narrow it down to this one specific niche. Really, what is the benefit of me doing that when I have, a bevy of different resources to go ahead and help, the masses? Is there anything that you guys can do to answer that, as far as alleviating maybe some of the fears and stress around that question?
For me,
yeah, Mike.
I'm just gonna say, just to answer to what you were saying, Brooke. For me, I'll give a real example. Myself, like, I was that person. My website reflected general life coaching at first, general life coaching, and I started getting feedback on general life coaching. Okay, what does that mean? What is that? Okay, awesome. And what I noticed is when I narrowed that down to what it is, who I'm helping, and what is that thing, and now it gave me, and this is back to what I said, it gave me that voice. When I narrow it down to transformation coaching, now people say, "Oh, okay, I think I know what that is." But then now when I talk about helping those who are stuck, feel lost, and now they are burnt out, or all of those, now it narrows it down. People find me. And it was one of the things that was tough for me to just grasp. I didn't want to let it go. I'm a general life coach. I want to help everybody. But when I made that change, it was like a magic wand almost. Like, okay, people are noticing now, and I'm getting that traffic.
What was your fear? Like, what specifically were you afraid of in that space?
It's exactly what we said. It's exactly what we said, Brooke. Like, if I do that, I'm missing someone, or someone is gonna feel like I'm saying no to them, right? Because my coaching, my approach is going to be the same, whether they're working on transformation, whether they're working on career, whatever it is, my approach is going to be the same. So it doesn't mean that I can't help that person with that issue, but it lets the person who's looking for me find me. And if I narrow that down, now it's like I know where to go.
Yeah.
He's the one. I need him, and I know I need him because he says that he's this type of coach, and that's the type of coaching I need.
Mm-hmm.
I want you to, if you can, share a little more about that space of, I can still help them. Because I think that people, that what they realize, they think is, oh no, I don't want to be stuck talking, where I only I only have to talk about this one thing with people for the rest of my life. But share about how it is that you can still help in a lot various aspects of life, even if your marketing is maybe narrowed to one client, if you can.
Yeah, definitely. I think the biggest thing there is for me, I'll speak for Mike. I'll speak for Mike James when I say this. It was a self-limiting belief for myself that once I do that, then I can't help anyone else. It's like no to everybody else. So the concept for me was right if I'm operating in this coaching model, right, and I'm helping in the way that I do as a coach, then guess what? A lot of things are similar across the board. Whether they're coming to you initially for this, for career or transformation or wellness, a lot of the issues come back to that person. And so now I can coach any person, right? And that doesn't negate my marketing voice. That doesn't negate me putting my voice out there so the people who are looking for me finds me. Hey, well, yeah, Mike, I see that you say you're this type of coach. Well, does that mean you can't? No, I can coach any person, right? So I think that's the thing. And for me, I will say again, as a reflection, it was more my belief. It was more that voice in my mind saying, well, yeah, Mike, you're not going to do that. You're going to lose people. And this was the revelation for me. I was actually blocking a lot of people until I found what that voice is. And then it was like, oh my goodness, it's like voila, literally.
That's amazing to hear. I was gonna put Jerome on the spot again for a second. In that space, I was gonna ask Jerome a couple questions. Um, uh, so with regard to like you shifting gears and things like that, how does you not being or needing help in this space, how does it affect your life?
How does me needing help in this space?
Your inability or the fact that you feel like you can't shift gears or want help in shifting gears. So how does not shifting gears well affect
It just
your
makes certain processes and decisions a little bit slower than I'd like them to be sometimes, which ultimately just makes life a little bit slower for me.
So ultimately, when you're not able to make decisions and certain processes move quicker or as quick as you'd like, it then makes all of life slower for you, right?
Mhm.
And what is all of life being slower for you? How does that affect you?
Makes it a little less entertaining. Also, it for me makes me a little bit less ineffective sometimes. Those are the two big ones I can think of right off the top of my head.
And when life is less entertaining and less effective, how does that affect you?
I feel like I'm not getting the fullest out of life sometimes. I'm not getting the actual, the true fulfillment that I look to gain when it comes to life.
Mm-hmm. And without that fulfillment, what areas of your life does that affect?
Both social and with work sometimes.
So social and work. Any other areas of your life?
Nope, not at the moment. Not that I can think of.
Social and work, big parts of life, right? About how much of your life does that take up?
To me, that's 50-50. So,
okay,
yeah.
There you go. So one of the reasons I did that and I put you through those hoops is we started out with not able to shift gears, but to pretend that not able to shift gears doesn't affect every aspect, as he said, 50-50, what life is divided by social, and it affects his whole life. So we might enter the door, get the foot in the door with transitioning gears, but in truth, we're coaching a whole human being, and transitioning gears affects their whole life. And so to be, I think that fear of oh no, I'm gonna be stuck doing this one thing the whole time and not is kind of unfounded, because everything affects everything, right? And I kind of put Jerome on the spot there in it because I wanted to sort of show that or demonstrate that shifting gears might be start in one place, but in fact it does affect the whole human being. And as coaches, we're always coaching a whole human being, right?
Mm-hmm.
I see Mike's heavy agreement on that.
No, yeah, that was good because it goes back to that individual, that person that I love when you said everything affects everything. Everything is everything. It's all connected, right? Because if I'm working on something for my career, right, and I'm looking for that career coach, that also has some effect on home. It also has some effect on social. It also has some effect on just where I am right now. And am I in the middle of a transition? So right in there, I talked 3 or 4 different categories of coaching. So initially that person came, it's career, right? But now it affects all of that. So like you said, everything affects everything. So it's that whole person that you're working with, and that's the beauty of it. I think that's the part right there. Once I accepted, was like, oh, okay, I like this. I can still help everyone. I just was finding my voice. So I like that. I really like that idea, and it's kind of that comfort too, for coaches as they're doing that comfort of like, yes, you can still help people in different areas, but now it's how are the people who need you going to find you? So I think that's important.
You also touched on something earlier, Mike, about before, like being scared that you're saying no to people. Sometimes saying no to people is the way you market yourself. You see, and being alienating, you want to alienate your audience sometimes because that makes you stand out more. I see this all the time for some god awful reason. I get like fitness now that I'm doing life coaching. I get like life coaching ads all the times, and I'll see fitness coaches who are like, "I only work with men who are 6'5" and have 800 nanograms of testosterone who are not sissies," and like they're just like throwing things left and right that just alienates a
Hmm.
group of people, but it does attract, and I'm probably not what they're looking for in this, but sending a strong message like that, and you see this in business coaching too. I only work with high performing executives with a 8-figure portfolio, and it works for a Fortune 500 company. You're just cutting people out left and right. Sometimes scaring away people you don't want is good for you, and you want to say no to people and make that message very clear.
Yeah.
Uh, Also, from a financial point of view, if with my example with the business coach, if you're trying to aim for a 6-figure income every year, you want to, you know, not coach people who can't pay your fees, essentially. And that depends on your goals, your financial goals as a coach that you should probably establish before you start coaching.
I think that brings up a really interesting point, Anthony. Um, you can't work with everyone, so
Mm.
why try? You might
Yeah.
as well niche it down, make it easier for everyone.
I can't.
You
You
can't.
cannot
I
be
want to work with
everything
everyone.
for everybody. You
Jerome,
can't do it. And Anthony, I love that too, what you said, because it can save you some trouble. It can save
yeah,
you some trouble, right? That idea right there is huge as well for coaches. Like, know that okay, now you start thinking, oh, you know what, I'm 2 sessions in, this is just not the person. Oh, because you said welcome all. You said welcome all, so all came to you. So so now let me save myself some headache on the front end and say I work with this person who's dealing with this issue, and this is what they want to see on the other side of our coaching relationship. So save yourself some time and some
Yeah,
headache.
think of it. I mean, you can think of it as dating. Like I mean, like we go into it. You're looking for typically the one in most cases. The idea of dating, a few billion people sounds exhausting.
Mm.
Just absolutely like
oh, I'll do it.
nightmare. um, and so it's a similar situation. You're gonna want to be coaching people that you jive with. You're gonna want to be coaching in spaces that you feel comfortable and you like it. You don't. Why would you date somebody that you couldn't talk to or you didn't like or
I ain't got time. I don't have time for that. That's too much. Ain't nobody
Jerome,
got time for that.
Jerome, you said earlier you don't like rude people, so what are you going to tell in your coaching to not have those rude people?
Um, that might be a bit of a difficult message to convey because I don't know that rude people actually understand that they're being rude when they are.
Good
Um,
point.
maybe
That is a very good
spiritual,
point.
maybe put somewhere along the line. Is spiritual, has some sort of spiritual connection. So just some similar characteristics that I kind of have with myself.
And that's an interesting point right there, right? We do avatar exercises in class. And one of the things we do is a visualization. Mike does it very well. Um, uh, uh, Mike, do you want to walk them through the visualization a little bit?
Visualization of that avatar for them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I'll do a short version of it. So just for the person, for whoever you are right now watching or whatever you do, even if you're not a coach and you're watching this, just think for a moment. I'll just start with a breath, right? That breath. So now, in that moment, whether you keep your eyes open or closed, thinking about that ideal person, if you think about your best day doing what you do, your coaching service, how you do it, what was the day like? What was the weather, the location where you are? And the reason why it was the best day and the best day of your career to this point is because your favorite person that speaks to your soul, that inner reason why you decided to do this, they are coming to see you today. And now as you think of it, that person, they're coming now. What are they? Man, woman, non-binary. What's their age? What is their hobby? What are the goals? Is it family? What do they do? Where do they hang out? What is their social media preference? What is that thing that they're coming through you for when they walk through that space wherever you are? Maybe you're outside. And when they arrive, you look at them, what is their name? What is that thing that makes this co-creative relationship works? Now, as you think about that, who was that person? Who was that one person that made it all worth it? Like, this is why I do it, even on the days where I'm tired. This is it right there. This is what we're working on. That's that ideal client, that avatar. That's that thing that makes it that person that make you excited to do what you do.
And did anybody, you guys, I mean, all of us have done this exercise, so we're kind of like not the best of folk to be putting through this ringer. But what we found, and what I think many people will find when they do that exercise, is many times it's a younger version of themselves. It's a version of themselves that has come, has been through something that they have come through, and now they have this passion to help others in the same space, and that's very, very common. It can also be a myriad of other things as well, but a lot of times that's what people find, which is there's some huge benefit there, right? We know how to talk to ourselves. We know we know what we were thinking. We know how we beat ourselves up, which brings me to a great point. When we say things, we throw around terms like pain points. We say, what are they coming to you for? What are they, how do you speak in this space to your niche, to your ideal client? How would you talk to them to get them to listen to you? If you guys have examples, what would you say to your client?
I think the first thing, the most important thing was giving yourself that time to go through who that person is, right? Who that person is, because now I need to know them to know what that pain point is. And as you said, Brooke, maybe it's that younger version of yourself, or you now, or someone you know. Maybe it's something you just finished going through yourself. So with that, now, if I'm thinking of that person who's coming through its breakthrough and they're bouncing back from some physical setback or some injury or something that was life changing for them, now, okay, what's that pain point? I want to get back and enjoy life as I did before this thing happened, before this incident happened. So now I know, okay, I want to hear in that moment that I can do it. You can make it back. The road to recovery can start with you. You could take one step to the next, and it's like, oh my goodness, as I'm in that space, yep, Mike's speaking to me. I don't know what kind of wizardry this is and who told him my story, but it's speaking to me and I want to know more. And so that's why when you talk in terms of that pain point, now I can reach you because this is what I want to get past. This is where I am right now, what I'm feeling, and I just know I don't like it. And I need to find somebody who's going to help me illuminate that pathway of getting to that next point.
You just said something very powerful, and you said it earlier on. You said you gave them hope, which I mean, I don't even know that you realized, and it was in a subtle way. You were speaking about how they want to get back to where they were, and then you said you can do that.
Mm-hmm.
You can, and that, boom, so simple, so powerful, right? And sometimes that's what we need, is that one, that you get it, that my problem, you understand that, I've had an injury. I had my knee replaced, and it was 3 months recovery. I just wanted to get back to snowboarding. That was my goal. Like, I wanted to get back to snowboarding. And so in that moment, you could have, if you were able to speak to me and say, hey, Brooke, I can get you snowboarding. I'll get you up on that mountain. You'll be up and you'll be good to go in 6 months. I'd be like, okay, Mike, I'm in. Let's do this.
Mm-hmm. Right.
In a minute. Why? Because you're speaking to me. You're speaking to my pain point. You're speaking to what my fears, that I'll never get to do something I love again. Because that's what's going through my head is, man, what if I never get to experience this feeling, this rush, this something that there's nothing like it in the world, and I may have lost that for the rest of my life. And whoa, that sucks. And then if you come along and say, hey, I can help you. Why can you help me, Mike? Tell me why you can help me.
Yeah, that's right. It's the same thing you were saying, right? If I know you can help me get back to that thing I love, or that activity, or that enjoyment of life, yes, that's it. And now why is because maybe there's some things, some blocks, some ideas, some thoughts that's just holding you back from. Remember, I was talking about starting that journey. And in this place, it's like, okay, you got my attention and you told me that it's okay. Like, I can do this. I can bounce back. I saw Sue drop that I'm a hope coach. Like, hope? Oh, man, I got hope now? Okay. What is that? What does that look like? Now it's just actually removing all the clutter and all the other things in life. Because if I'm recovering, right? If I'm recovering and bouncing back from something, a traumatic injury or experience or something that happened, and I'm bouncing back from that, life is still going too. Life is still going. It's a lot to think about. And so now it's just a matter of, okay, how do I organize this so I can actually put my focus and thought on the road to recovery? And now I feel that hope because I'm starting the process.
So Michelle Yang has just asked a question. I think where I get stuck with the avatar is imagining the ideal client in a physical way, as it mentions in the class ebook. Does it need to be that drilled down? My gut is all yes.
Yes.
But what I'm hearing her say though, in this scenario though, is I get stuck imagining that ideal client in a physical way. So I would want to ask more questions around that. Is it that maybe it's a matter of just not being able to picture who that is? So maybe the question isn't who this is, but how can you best help? Who can you best help? Who? And maybe we're deviating from that ideal client a little bit, but we start to speak to, where do you feel strongest? What can you talk about for 30 minutes a day? Drop of a hat, no, without any question. Where do you feel passionate? Where could you work for free for the rest of your life?
The exercise as well serves as a stand-in in lieu of an actual person. I had a coaching client a little while ago who was talking about her ideal client, and she was trying to pull things from her imagination out of thin air. We were talking about it a little bit, and she mentioned that she knew a woman who was a close friend of her that fit all the roles of this ideal client. She's like, oh, the ideal client would be like so and so that I know. And I asked her, why don't you talk to her about this? Like, not as in becoming your client, but like, why don't you talk to her about her pain points? What would help her? Why don't you, instead of trying to pull this person out of thin air, why don't you talk to her? And she had this like, oh my God moment. Like, why haven't I been, like talking to an actual person? So the exercise isn't mandatory in a sense like you have to do this, otherwise you're never going to find your ideal client. But if you already see who your ideal client is, talk to them, explore them, ask them questions, and try to develop sort of the ideal client from there, because talking to real people is always going to benefit you more than imagining a person in your head. It's just what we do as a placeholder for a real person.
Yeah.
Well, and I think too, if you can't imagine that person, if nobody comes to mind, if that, then switching to the space of who can you, I mean, where can you be the most helpful? Where do you feel like you are the most helpful? Where do you have expertise? Where do you want to work for the rest of your life if you had to do it?
Mm-hmm.
What space would be comfortable and awesome for you to be in, and put yourself there. We are sort of leaving out one element here, which always sort of comes up, and I don't want. There's a fear that comes too. Is what if I want to coach somebody who can't afford my services? How do I make my living doing that? And there is a way. There's still there. I would just want to say there's always a way. I mean, that ideal client may not be somebody who is that can easily pay for a high fee or something like that. But there are so many, where there's a will, there's a way. And I say that there are I just go, my brain goes 501(c), which I should know. You can work for charitable organizations. You can structure your business so that you can coach folks who can, and then have time for the folks who cannot. And there's you can do sliding scales. There's so many ways. So you don't have to get hung up in that space either. Yes, Anthony.
Group coaching.
Group coaching. Yes, group coaching is huge.
Mm-hmm.
That's why lower entry for fee, and you get a whole crop of people, and that's sort of what makes up the difference by just having more clients in a session.
And we'll have to do another group coaching live soon. We only have about 5 minutes left, guys. Where have we not covered in this space? What have we left out?
If I can,
You
this is a
cannot.
question that, if answered, maybe can alleviate some stress. Guys, can I change my niche? Is that something that I'm allowed to do? Is that
Stuck with it
something?
forever. No,
Yeah.
it's going to be a long divorce proceeding for you to change your niche. You're going to have to probably give up half of what you own. Did you sign a prenup with your niche? I'm just wondering. Of course you can. Of course.
Anytime it can change. I gave that I gave that kind of insight earlier that mine definitely has because I didn't have one at first. So, and Anthony, can we put Anthony back on the screen real quick too?
No.
Because kind of what Michelle was saying, and as you think of that, when you were talking, Anthony, and
Yeah.
Brooke, that question that you had, and you were right there, I just looked at that background. And it's that idea right there of still why you want to encourage yourself and give yourself that grace in doing that, because look at that general market. It's a big sign, right? Everybody's going there. Everybody's going there, right? All that traffic and clutter and I want to get to where I want to go. And I like the way niche market is like the fast lane.
Mhm.
The fast lane of when I want to get there and get there fast. Now let me get over here, less traffic, and now we're moving. And so I just thought that illustration was awesome in the sense that I don't want to go just off track and go where everybody else is, the bigger sign. I want to narrow it down so now I can enjoy this journey and I can travel.
Nice. Very nice.
That's
Very
awesome.
nice. Where anything else in this space? Or
I got one.
Well, yes. When that's where my brain went. I'll be back, and then I'll hand you back over.
Okay.
With marketing, and with all marketing, not just niching, but with marketing, it's gonna change. It's gonna develop. It should change. It should develop, because your market is a human being. At the end of the day, your ideal client, your avatar, they are a human being, and human beings change. They grow. They learn. We adapt. We are living, eating, breathing creatures that do not remain stagnant our entire lives. So your marketing, think of it as the same way. If you're thinking of it as a niche, as this one person, speak to that one person and know that that person's gonna change and evolve, and so will you, and so should your marketing. So there's always room for change, and it should be there. You should build it in. Adaptability should be built into your business. And that's all. I'm off my soapbox. Carry on. Anthony?
I was going to bring up a topic, but then I figured, I saw the time. I was like, oh, this might be a bigger topic than we can cover. So maybe another live we'll do it. But I was going to say experience too. Do I need to have experience with my niche? Am I going to be a successful coach for divorced couples if I've never been married and I've never been divorced?
Maybe.
I can tell you what, Dan has coached couples, and that's not what he typically does. He doesn't want to do it. he will do it when it comes up in that session, but then there's been plenty of times he's referred out for that niche because of what his comfort is. Not necessarily knowing or not knowing. Know your comfort. What do you want to work on? If it's not something you want to work in, it's a special kind of person who can sit there and watch two people argue and be okay with that, and hear some very tough things that they're going through and navigate through the experience with two people. Many therapists who thought that's what they wanted to do have shied away from that, because if you take it home with you, can be very stressful.
So I guess
who you are. Huh?
Oh, I was going to say, I guess the solution is have coaches you're friends with you can refer out to, and possibly they can refer clients to you because you have a specialized niche.
Absolutely.
Comes together, that web, that beautiful web.
Jerome, final
I
thought.
thought you were going to have us sing there for a second, Mike.
I know.
I thought it was funny when Lisa said it takes a certain kind of person to listen to two people argue and listen. And I thought, I wonder what goes through Lisa's head.
Yeah, when that's happening.
Kind of
Actually, I watch.
I wonder, is this a voyeur thing? Is this?
It is. Yeah, it is. I watch body language. I watch what they're saying. I watch how they're interpreting what's being said. When a lot of the times they miss, and I mean, we all do when we all look at when we're in a relationship. Even here, our amazing team, we mishear each other at times, and then you run with it because we are who we are from our makeup. So it's understanding that nature in human nature and help them navigate what's actually happening in that space. So yeah, there is, and kind of sounds weird, but I look forward to their arguing because a whole bunch of other dynamic comes out. But that's next month. We talk relationship next month.
Yes. Wait, that's this month.
This month.
Wow.
Oh,
Yes.
It's February the 1st.
Everyone.
2122.
Final thoughts, Jerome. Final thoughts, Mike.
I'll jump right in. Just the last tidbit on switching your niche, and hopefully that kind of does alleviate some fear. Is I say, like, one of the better ways to think about it is in a business model that suggests this is the way that we've always done it. This is how we're always going to do it. Those businesses typically don't have long-lasting success. So just being able to adapt. I'm not saying sit down and mark, January of next year, I'm going to change my niche, but just be open to the adaptability and be aware that that's something that is okay and that is allowed for you to go ahead and do.
Go as far as build it into your business model.
Yeah, that's awesome. My last thoughts is just, in the way I always do, just really enjoy the journey, because it's a journey. Like, enjoy that journey. It can change, the ups and downs and all of that. Enjoy the journey. And most importantly, extend yourself grace while you're changing, while you're trying to figure it out. Like, oh, what is it? Breathe, extend yourself that grace, enjoy the journey, and keep going.
All right, I think I'm going to sign us off. Anthony, did I check in with you? I didn't forget about you, did I? Okay.
You did.
All right, I'm going to sign us off then. Thank you guys, everybody out there who's been watching. We appreciate you. Thank you for all of your awesome comments and for joining in the conversation. We appreciated it. Those of you who watch this later, please feel free to keep joining in the conversation. Leave comments, leave anything. If you have topics you want us to cover, put them in the comments and we will cover them. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for participating. Make sure you like, share, follow, and check out Certified Life Coach Institute. We certify life coaches in 3 days. You could learn from Mike or Lisa. Yeah. No, I hide.
So many awesome people.
All right. Thank you.